Hello, everyone, on this slightly different format of this week's episode on the Solid Spirit Driven, let's say, channel. And I have a very special guest today, Valerie Ogorodnik, who is an art therapist. But this is my dilemma because usually I look very smart because I do the intro in peace and quiet, and now I'm going to have to do it with Valerie here and with you guys here, but I don't want to miss anything, and I've got this beautiful intro here for my guest today. So just so you know who we are hosting here today, we have the founder of Active Creative, who has created this innovative platform, which is designed to help individuals lead meaningful, colorful lives. Now, beyond her entrepreneurial pursuits, Valerie actively runs a Ukrainian refugee group, providing psychological support and stress management to make a meaningful impact on the lives of Ukrainians in our community. Driven by her commitment to art therapy, Valerie navigated personal challenges like divorce and single motherhood, finding solace and growth through yoga, meditation, breathwork, and art, everything that's close to my heart. The pivotal moment occurred during the tragic events in Ukraine in 2022, when expecting her second child. Valerie devoted herself to empowering others. Through art therapy, Valerie also conducts creative weekly workshops in Cheltenham, which I'm smiling because that's not that far from me. I think about 3 hours, so that's completely doable. She offers one-on-one sessions and develops art therapy products for the public and professionals in the wellness and health industry. And I have had a peek at your products, and I can just say they're just beautiful, beautiful. So Valerie hosts her own podcast, Perspectives, which delves into the spectrum of life, unfolding a canvas of art therapy, mindfulness, and holistic living. As a proactive voice and expert in the field of therapeutic art, her mission is to connect individuals with their inner creativity and activate their full potential. She believes that everyone has the power to tap into their creativity, creating a meaningful impact on their lives and the world around them, ultimately contributing to positive change in society. Valerie, I have invited you here today because I have, amongst my listeners, amongst my community, creatives, artists, people who, whether they work with a creative medium or creating their lives, have recognized that there are blocks that are holding them back. And I know that you can help us create the bridge to overcome this and be our full authentic self. So please welcome to the podcast, Valerie.
Thank you, because everything you've put out there is basically giving some kind of structure and frameworks of what I do. But to describe it, I guess everyone needs to experience it. It comes from experiencing, and art therapy doesn't reflect of what it is, because it's more than art, and it's definitely not therapy. It is an experience that you go through of transformation. But I guess we will have a new word for it later, like in 10 years, what it's going to be called. But at the moment, that's the only way I could find the niche that fits in that reflects on what I do. And I want people to connect that it is not an art, like as an art form or artist. You also have to be just creative. It doesn't have to be an art form. It's just, you could be a philosopher, which is an artist in a way, or using creativity as a tool to transform, which has been done. If you look at the whole history, creativity was always there, artists were always there, as the first profession you would name. They would transform and show the life that we live in, and that's how we know our history, from everything that is created around us. So everyone who is creator, I call an artist. And with the art therapy, it is a unique field that in psychology hasn't been explored. It's only like 40 years old in the field of psychology. So a combination of psychology knowledges, healing knowledges, therapeutic background, neuroscience, body exploration with art is like a transformative tool. And that's why for the logo that I did, I used the prism, which
I love that your brand is saturated with prisms. I mean, this is what I mean, even with your product. I love that so much. Prisms resonate with me so deeply.
it is a metaphoric way of explaining what it does, because as I said, there's not enough words in our vocabulary to what we experience. So when you think of prism, it's going from one direction and then transforming one light into the full spectrum of what's possible. And our ability to see it is the only difference that it makes. So if you think of the rainbow, it depends on where you stand. That's how you're going to see it. And the magic that it creates just reminds us that rainbow is amazing experience. It reminds of some magic in life, but it is a physics. It's made of, atoms of reflecting the light, going through water, and showing the full spectrum of our colors that we live around. So yes, I can go into lots of philosophies around that, of perception of what we see. And during the work, of transformation through all these tools, everyone finds their way if they're willing to see, if they're willing to go into that work. And if you're an artist, if you are creative that can't find a new angle of what you do, change of perspective, and shifting that vision that you have could be a little thing. And creativity is also a tool for it. To just understand that by allowing someone to guide you, to hold your hand in the moment where you feel stuck, is a strength where you can just look at what you do from another side, and then you'll see it completely different ways, and you'll see there's so many other opportunities in there.
I love everything that you shared here because, and funny enough, before we hit record, we were talking about clearing the throat chakra, right? And I'm not sick, but as soon as I started reading your bio, oh my gosh, that throat chakra was going crazy. But we're keeping it real here because everyone who's watching this or listening to it knows that we are just going with everything. I've got noise, I've got tradies here. But I am so engulfed in what you were saying, Valerie, because I strongly believe that we are all creators, artists even, right? And if you don't think of yourself as a creator or artist, I believe it has nothing to do with whether you are a painter, whether you have been trained professionally. I think it has more to do with the fact that you haven't recognized yet that you are the creator of your life. You create your life, you design it. So once when you realize that you are a creator, you're an artist, it comes from how you put yourself together, how you put your house together, but also the choices that we make in life that create this experience for us. And so I have found that I have been speaking to a lot of people in my community who are wanting to write books or create pieces of art. Perhaps they've created something amazing, and then now they're worried that that next piece won't be, as great. And when we go into the Akashic records, of course, there's always something that leads to either a past life, some trauma, something that has come into this life. And that's probably where I can help them highlight this for them. And often it does resolve just knowing this. But also, I feel I'm very fascinated with the work that you do, which is spiritual, but also combined with very tangible things. And I feel like really in the intro I haven't given you all the, I haven't reflected everything that you do, the whole spectrum. But Valerie, can you perhaps guide us through like what your work is? Like, let's say, who comes to you, what do they do? Because I know that you don't just show them how to paint a pretty picture.
So yeah, we actually don't come with expectation of have any artwork. It's the process that we're concentrating in, where the process is basically meditative way of approaching a flow state. If you know, the flow state is when you release, you go into the safe mode where you are filled to release everything that subconscious holds for you. And using art therapy, you can reflect of what's inside. So it could be, channeling your past lives, releasing some of your emotional stuck emotions that have been holding you back. It could be releasing of limitation that comes up. And during the process, you will have every possible way of triggers that comes up as well. And it could be the paper is wrong, the pencil doesn't write, the color is not what I want, there's not enough room for me. So it's all those limitations that come into your life. They come into the creative process where we'll go through the certain stages. That the first stage is to get into the safe zone. So we'll do a lot of breath work and somatic exercises to get your body into feel safe and feel like it's can go into releasing and exploring. So it depends on where you are at the moment. And the second stage is usually visualization meditation, where we open up subconscious to certain things. So we put an intention and see, if you want to work through your limitation or your book that doesn't feel aligned with where you want to be. So you put that intention for the mind to go into the direction. And then by already releasing all those tensions through the body and entering your body into the relaxed, safe mode, your subconscious mind starts showing you images. So if you're visionary, obviously you'll have visions. If you're not visionary, you'll have feelings in your body. You can hear music. You can have some memories that comes up. Whatever is holding you back at the moment, your body will release it. And that's why dreams are also part of our work. So when you're in dreams, you'll have everything that's holding your mind, body back is happening in the dream world. So basically, at that process, you will get messages from your subconscious, and you will not have a clear insight straight away as you see them. So the process is when you have those visions come through for you, based on the intention that you put, you go into the art process. So art process could be collage making, it could be crocheting, it could be drawing what you saw, painting, creating with clay. So we use any modalities that as a facilitator I feel is right at that moment. And then during the process, your brain will start activating your right side with the left side. So analytical with intuitive and creative. So connecting what is the meaning in all those visions that you saw that is only you hold. So if you think we communicate in symbols, and our brain gives us symbols, and in my practice, you would have someone seeing, you know, an orange, right? And if you are going to read about orange or find meaning in, Google, it doesn't reflect what your mind was trying to show you. So that's my work, is to connect that orange to where it's coming from. It was the feeling when you were little and your mom gave you a first orange when you were under the Christmas tree, and you had that smell and you felt this is the joy. And I got a gift from somewhere exotic, and that was the smell of that orange and the color. And that's why it came up when you're 40 in your visualization meditation, because that's where your blockage is sitting. So we're unpacking those images that come through back to where it had been affected on your body somatically. And we connect to your body and see ways that emotion has been stored that keeping you limited, for example. Or if you can get channeling through doing the creative process, and you can get really big insights. So in my life, I was always using creative process as a way of channeling and downloading information, because when I was little, I grew up in a family of Capricorns, like two very disciplined, organized people. And for me to actually be able to go into my spiritual world, I had to do something. So because I was dancing, I was singing, I was going to like 5 different classes, a week. One of them was painting. And through painting, I was actually connecting to my soul, which I started realizing only now. That was the whole process of why I found these tools, that in the busy life that I had when I was little, like, from 5 years old, I was going to all different classes. My way of connecting to me was through art. If it would be dancing, I would had like visions, during dancing to the song. If it would be like piano lessons. So I had to find, in the busyness of my 5-year-old childhood, I had to find time for myself. I never had a playtime, because I had a brother who would annoy me. So I never would be able to play by myself. I was hiding to do that. But when I was drawing, nobody would touch me. And that's how I would recognize my knowledges that I hold from the past lives through that. And then the whole life ended up, becoming an artist and studying art and going on the part of like design, branding, connecting it to the material world, which led me to still realize that everything I was doing is using that tool to connect to the creativity as a way to lead and heal. And most of the art that I did was actually healing my ancestral trauma, which I had no awareness of. I was just doing it intuitively. I was guided, by concepts and reading books and finding something that I really liked in different paintings, connecting it to history. But when I look at it now from my perspective at this age, I see that everything was reflecting of healing my ancestors' trauma that was built in. So my early work was about feminism, and then objectifying bodies, and presenting women as a piece of object rather than subject. And I've had exhibitions about self-objectification, and then killing. I had a installation of like a Flemish still life where woman becomes a flesh. So it was all subconsciously that past that I was holding within my DNA of women being in a kind of slavery or usage, and as being an object of, being a woman. And then the last project I was doing, it was actually freezing my mom's photo and myself in a film, which also reflects the connection to water that I had, where the information was holding, and I was trying to freeze it and then change that molecules to release it. So it was very healing for me, but I didn't have an awareness that it was an actually therapy for myself when I was doing art. And now when I'm in this space of creating the space for others, I can see how you can put a meaning to it and unpack it while you're doing this art. So it's actually healing others when you release your project or your book or any creation. It's healing you in a way, or releasing some of your limitations for others to see it and use it as well. And that's that creative process has been proven and is going to go bigger and bigger. And my probably job is to create that awareness that there is this tool of creative expressive therapy that you can use in your life with awareness. You probably have been using it. You are probably saying that, oh, I love gardening, and I put in plants and it makes me feel good. In a way, when you have an understanding of what the process is, when you're using your hands and you're putting it into earth, connecting to your connection to earth, realizing that you're part of this nature. So the process of just planting garden, and it becomes a ritual for you that is actually healing you on subconscious level, and then bringing into your awareness on your analytical brain that I have just had a ritual that helps me to move forward.
So you picked an example with the gardening that I always wonder, how do people find it relaxing? Because all I can think about is the spiders, the grubs that are going to come. What if there's a spider in my, glove? And I find it the most non-relaxing activity, right? But here's you've given us so much here, but I am really curious because, like, from what you were sharing, Valerie, and oh my gosh, you had installations that, like, I have a million questions about that itself. But with okay, I'm inspired to ask two questions. I'm just thinking, which way should we go? Okay, let's ask you this one first. So you have people contacting you for sessions. Do they know that, for example, something is holding me back? Like, let's say I'm a writer, I'm not, or I'm a painter, whatever I've been doing. Something's holding me back. Can I come to your session and unlock it? Or do they I know exactly what it is. It was in this past life. This is what's happening. Can you help me? Like, what sort of at what point do they come to you? Do we need to know like what the blockage is, or do we just come open-minded? I don't know. Like, what is the point that they come in?
Again, thank you for the question. Coming from the art therapy is not a known modality as you would, go to psychology, or so people who knows about it already have an awareness of what it is. And usually it's historically it's coming from disability sector, because when you can't communicate what you have, you can't go to psychologists when you can't communicate. So you would go to art therapists. So the people come to me, they already been to a few modalities like hypnotherapy. They've been to, obviously healers. They've been to psychologists. They've been to counseling, family counseling. And they said, I didn't, like, it was fun. It was good when I was talking, but I didn't have, like, it didn't really, it didn't release. Like, it was good while I was doing it, and it helps, but it didn't move. So can I come and try art therapy? And that's, in my case, every life challenging situation like divorce, going through studies and feeling anxious and can't, work because of your anxiety. People think that, okay, art can actually help me because I have a lot of emotions that I want to release. And they come to me without an awareness of how transformative it's going to be. And that's where probably the insides and everything just blows up for them, because everyone that comes in, they astound on how deep this practice is, because obviously the perception they have, it's another sort of therapy, right? So when you go to the healer, you suppose you accept that someone else is doing the healing work for you, right? So they take responsibility, they heal you. When you go to the counselor, psychologist, therapist, you understand that they will give you like some sort of tricks to work through your mind. And then when you go to art, it's actually your whole process. You're actually doing it, you're experiencing it, and you're talking about it. And I'm just there holding that space for you, where you have created this bubble and container to release everything, without someone's taking that complete authority of it. So it's you. And when it's you, we know when you do it, it feels different because you take responsibility for it.
And from what you're saying, it doesn't. So your clients, participants aren't really necessarily needing to be identify or calling themselves artists. Like it could be like, because you mentioned someone who's gone through a divorce, or someone who has some childhood trauma, and it's preventing them from finding love or whatever it is, like or holding a job or.
Yeah, so the one that I have is obviously divorce, change of life, understanding that I'm not longer who I was, and how do I find myself. Anxiety and depression, where I feel stuck, I can't get myself out of where I am.
And what about mothers who have lost themselves perhaps in motherhood?
Unfortunately, at that stage that I'm in, mothers that really, I am a mother of 2 children, I can relate, and they are finding a more scientific explanation, so they would tend to go to psychologists first to help with depression. I would love to work with mothers because I know how transformative that path is, but yeah, I guess it will all come through when it's time. At the moment, I have people that, as an artist or creatives, that are finding they can't move to the next stage. So then that process that I'm already over what I do, but I can't see how to go, and or I can't break through. How do I break through to the next level? To shift myself into the next stage. And a lot of people come from coaching backgrounds. So, when they are coaching and they understand the background of, and art is not part of, their awareness of how it works. So they come from that background, which opens up another new field for them of how it works. Because in art therapy, we combine neuroscience, a lot of somatic exercises, so to work through the body, and then connect neuroscience and then your intuition and that creative flow. Because when you and that's why in my practice I do a lot of sacred geometry and neurographics and connection with hands, to activate all the senses in your hands. So the way it works, it's takes you into an uncomfortable zone in a safe space where you're able to recreate and shift your already existent perception of conditioning or whatever it is, and then rewrite it. So like rewiring your brain, you know, you rewrite it, but you do it not in your brain, you do it in body. So without putting analytical, you know, understanding of it. So you create that feeling through this process. And by creating it on paper, you visualize it, but then your body will start work after. So when you've created this new path or new embodiment, a feeling that you are not aware of, your body will need take time to understand what it is. And your analytical brain will always find a meaning for it. So always override that emotion that has been created. And the work is happening after the session. So you will never, as an art therapist, I can't get success stories because it would happen not in the session. You know, that's why all the practices that I do is to connect to that new embodiment, the feeling. That's why we have this artwork or color to remind you of that feeling, to go back to it. So the neuro passes work. So we create a new neuro pass, you know, and then it's like a road. So you found a new pass somewhere, and then
which essentially is a new way of being, then, right?
Yes. And then if you don't walk on it, it gets lost. So what you need to, is you need to work. You need to go back to that path, remind yourself how it feels, connect to the color, you know, create that new path that you want to live. Not going back to the one that you know, the old road that's been there for you, and it takes you always to the same path. So we are creating this new road, and by connecting and helping you to build those blocks around it, to adjust your body to it and change, you know, the posture and find yourself feeling it. That's why it is a scientifically proven method. And that's why I say the greatest thing is when you already have a client that know he wants to create that new path, and I'm helping to guide it. But then it also connects to the channeling and downloading from spiritual paths, you know, and I can see that it actually aligns a life with what it's meant to be, you know, with the purpose from the soul. And then the path becomes pleasurable. You know, it's not just like building it and hard work. So that spiritual thing opens
Can we
up.
explore this actually, Valerie? Because you and I spoke about this. Sorry to cut in. You and I spoke about this before we hit record, about the channeling that happens as we are in this sort of state of creating. Can you touch on this a little bit more? Actually, expand it, because I found that quite fascinating. But we went recording it, right?
So the process, when, for example, if you're coming from trauma, the first stage for me as a therapist, I need to create, you know, the safe space for you to explore. So working through the blockages, your body, everything comes up through art, and we release it. The next stage is when we pass that path, you know, we're not working through trauma, is actually getting to the state to connect with your one self, to who you are. And when your subconscious, it's like a dream state. When your subconscious goes in there with awareness, as you would lucid dream, as you would know you're dreaming, and you subconscious is showing you images, right? It's showing you lives, it's showing you memories, visions of some places. You could think as this reminds me of the picture that I saw, or it could be your past lives, or it could be your future life, you know, and that's where you get lost. You think, your brain will analyze and think, oh, it's actually like could be a connection to what I saw in this movie. But when I'm there, you know, and we have that visualization and we have those images that comes through and we unpack them, there's a lot of them that come in from your soul life, right? So it's not like a cash credit. Actually, a lot of people connect to the planets they're from, where the soul came from, or like
Star
original.
seeds. Yeah. Yeah, the
Yeah.
star seeds.
So they wouldn't know what it is because in our human life, we've never experienced that, right? So
Mm.
see, like, this is like, as one client, she would see, a very bright light, and there would be these structures. It's not earth, it's not, she doesn't know what it is, but it's coming through. And then we work on it, and we go through what are the metaphors that your soul reminding you of why you're here, what you need to do at this moment that comes up for you. And that's the channeling when it's happening, right? So she has a very strong download in that vision of imagery that came through. And my job isn't to help her integrate it, to where she is. Obviously, when she was on the other planet as a soul, when she decided to come to experience Earth, she didn't have books and, like
Mm.
the Earth material things, right? So the vision that she saw was from her life there in her dimensions, but we can't understand it because we have our own. So we try to unpack it and see what's the message there that she's holding for herself, and write it down. And that's why a lot of times I have music coming, or they hear a music with songs that they don't know of.
I'm sorry. Just hang on a sec. Sorry, Valerie. There we go. So coming back, I apologize for that. But coming back, so the star, because the star seeds, like I engage with the star seeds. Obviously, that comes through as well as part of the soul's blueprint. But recently we had the Lion's Gate,
Yes.
and I saw that you were talking about the Lion's Gate as well, and I'm fascinated. How does the Lion's Gate come into play for you and your work?
So on the Lionsgate, we did the sacred geometry workshop, which, during the Lionsgate, we have this open portal of energy aligning all the planets and opening up like a portal. And for us, it's a quantum jump. We can use that energy, even if it's not ideally, like, we can't say that it's on the 8th of the 8th. It's when the planets align. You can look through astrology when is a perfect alignment, but we know it's the effect of it. It's like a couple of days. So during that time, we would have a very strong connection to our cosmic nature that we can use, right? Or we can use that sun energy to manifest and build up on that energy, what we want to build. So when I do sacred geometry, is like the most favorable place for me to do manifestation, because it talks in the code. It doesn't have any visuals, so you can literally connect to the divine language within yourself and align yourself to who you are. And during this Lion's Gate, you can have channeling, you can have just a very strong intention and manifestation, what you want to put in that card to activate. And when we do the circles and the lines and the Merkaba and all the shapes, we connect to all the elements, reminding ourselves that we are made of all these elements. And with this one particular, it was all about manifesting, your reality that you want in by using that process. So when you're like in that process of creating circles in sacred geometry, you can actually have a lot of downloads for yourself that will come later.
I love that, and it fascinates me because I have been holding Lionsgate ceremonies for the last, I think, 4 years, and it fascinates me to hear how someone in your line of work utilizes or makes the most of these powerful energies. Because you are right, like, I mean, I hold the ceremony on the 8th of the 8th at 8 p.m. but there's a window between the end of July and I think it finished now 12th of August where the energies are, more palatable, and then yes, there's the peak. But any time in that window, the energies are, the veil is thinner. It's easier to be connected to the higher realms, to spirit, to your loved ones, and for someone like you who does also the tangible work, right? Like the creative work, to utilize that is fascinating, and no doubt it would be really then felt energetically, but also seen, like what you create in that, right? The codes that are coming through, or guidance that comes through in those moments. So thank you for sharing how you made the most of the Lionsgate energies. Valerie, I would love to know, for those of my listeners or viewers who are actually creatives, artists. Again, let's look at book writers who are feeling somewhat stuck or blocked. Now, often what I have noticed, what we tend to do is we look for inspiration with an analytical mind, right? So we might be going to what's trending, what colors are trending, what is on Pinterest, what so and so is doing. And I don't work enough in that field to know how good or bad it is. Does it serve us, does it not? But my question is, if let's say someone is feeling a little bit stuck, and they want to tap into that authentic creativity, not the creativity that comes from the analytical mind, but their own authentic. Is there anything, any practice, any tool that you could perhaps share with us here today that could get the ball rolling?
Yes, so with artwork, we are creating something and we have a high level of expectation of achievement, right? So the best practice to do is to allow yourself to create a space where there's no judgment of you being a creative artist, with achieving some beautiful results. So create that safe space for you to create something that just comes in without no expectations, and you can set an intention that I will throw it or burn it after, and allow yourself just to explore where your intuition guides you. And then when you see that the colors doesn't match as I would align that with my tones, or the paper is not right, you allow yourself to go through these challenges. And that's the process where you basically go through a new stage of solution making, because you're used to a certain process. You have a very strong patterns of what's been working for you, and the same comes to your life, and you use it. And then when that pattern doesn't work anymore, and you feel like, I know how to do it. I've been doing it for 30 years and I have all this experience. And then allow yourself to go into the childlike playfulness with no expectations and no judgment for what you create. And that will allow you to create a new way of making things. So basically, experimentation as a way of unlocking something new in yourself. But to do that, because you've been doing that for so many years, or you've always been creative and you have your way of doing it, your brain will always remind you of that. It will restrict you. It will give you feelings like you are not satisfied. You feel like it's not working for you.
I actually have a real life example here that I wanted to put forward to you. What if, let's say, you feel like, okay, I'm going to play, I'm going to explore, but I don't want to waste resources. What if it doesn't work? Or what if it doesn't turn out and I've just wasted all this stuff, or all these this time?
Yes.
And like, why do we have this feeling? And so then we go, let me look up a pattern or something that someone else done, so then so I don't waste resources. Where does that come from?
Yeah, so that's our, it's basically we are coming from lack mindset, and this is our conditioning through generations. We all grew up in a position where we had a lack of something, and to be resourceful is to create resources, not to use what you have a little of. But because, our generation by generation, we had lack of food, we had lack of, shelter and everything. We're coming from that perspective that the judgment that how am I going to use all those resources for nothing? It has to be done for something, right? So when you work with children, they don't have that problem. If you tell them, take a paint and they don't like it, they leave it, they take another paint, they take another paper. They don't have that lack mentality that we already build in, and they just look at you like, why wouldn't you take another paper if you don't like this paint?
Yes. That makes so much sense. So much to learn from children.
So the first thing you do, you allow yourself, you give yourself a very clear container. So I have the 3 papers. This is the paint that I have. I'm going to do whatever I want with it, with no judgment and no expectations. And this is my experiment part to release all that you were just saying. I'm hiding. I used to hide. That's why I have this thing that I need to hide, like to do this. But I'm hiding from my own mother. Like I'm hiding from my own authority to do this experiment, to allow myself to just be. And that's when you create this new connection that I'm doing this just for releasing, experimenting. I'm not doing this to create something, a waste. So coming from lack into creation mode.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And it's interesting to say that because, yes, we come from countries that, where lack was, where you had limited resources or no resources sometimes, or you had to make do with what you had. And I wonder sometimes whether this sort of I don't even know if it's generational trauma or purpose for the land, the country, but I'm really bad with, like, I need all my resources. Like, I need resources, and then, let's say yarn. I like to have all the colors there. Like, I don't ever want to feel like I want to do something and I don't have the color. So I might get something that I think, yes, I need it, and then not use it for a while, but at least I know it's there. And I often wondered, like, what is that from, like, not having enough? So if it's in my house, I know I have it, it's mine. Or, and it resonated what you said as well, with just how it's not even just our own trauma, let's say, or pain, but it could also be the countries, the land that we belong to, right? Or we come from, that has shaped this as well. But
it's interesting when you talk to Central America and all those countries with tropical climates, where environment is building us, right? So if you think, if you grew up in a land that had a lot of fruits, shelters, natural shelters, they didn't need to look for land at all. Like, it was just there, they had food, they had all these plants and medicines all around them. So just connecting to the other way of people have been culturally created, they would never have a problem thinking that it's never enough, because they never have created that problem.
Yeah.
Like, with my background, obviously we had winter. Like, you have no food in winter. Like, what mentality would you have when all your ancestors would pack the food before the winter comes and gather everything to go through the hard times. So it's been generation, and generation. And now, even without having winter and without having lack of supplies, we still go through that. We still wait for that time to come when there's going to be nothing, and you need to make sure you have this paint at home. If it's not there, I'm not going to survive, you know.
That's how I feel with my yarn. If I don't have this yarn, I'm not gonna survive. I need it in my house. Hence, I got a whole room.
You can't find it. It's winter. It's not like you can go to Bali and bring it back.
Yeah, but even what you said about oranges, and I remember oranges, bananas, there was such an exotic thing. I remember like when relatives would send us parcels for Christmas that had oranges. So when you think about, like when I think about my children, and oranges are no big deal to them, let alone have it as a Christmas gift. But for me, like that was so special to receive oranges or bananas, you know, from this faraway country, you know, for Christmas. It was so exotic and so special. And even to this day, any other fruit is fine, but things like the bananas and the oranges, I can't see them being wasted. Like, that's the one thing I'm like to my kids, oh my God, I can't believe you just took one bite and you left it, you know, like, so there's so much to be said about this. Valerie, I'm being mindful of your time, but I can't let you go before you share with us about your work with the Ukrainian refugees, please. Like, can you please share with us a little bit of what that work looks like? What do you do? How do you help them?
I think it's ongoing it's ongoing unfolding of all the messages that it was installed when I decided to come to this lifetime. Because when I was born, I always questioned myself, why did I pick this life here? Like, why would I pick this family? And I was always questioning, like, if I was aware of where I'm coming in, why would I do this to myself? And I grew up in Crimea, which is the most beautiful region with Black Sea, you know, wineries. It's a touristic place, and it holds a lot of portals, like energy portals, like underground pyramids.
Yes.
Under the earth. And in that place, there's a lot of spirit compared to any other place around. There's a lot of spiritual people coming through. You know, through, like I was little, I saw a lot of Buddhist people, you know, wearing like the gears and coming to these lands, and it was normal for me to see a lot of spiritual people around because of that land. And then, you know, over the years when I moved to Australia, I was still questioning, like, why did I decide? Because I knew that I'm not going to stay there. I knew, you know, that I'm not going to stay in Ukraine. And I was just searching for places that I want to go when I was little. And when I came and started 17 years ago, when I came to Australia, I was still questioning myself. Why did I decide to pick, you know, that country, to grow up in that lack mentality, you know, women suffering and lack of, you know, lack of cultural awareness for women, like so much suppression in the way women are raised. I was always wondering what was the reason for my soul to pick that place. And then after years, like I was looking into the history of, you know, the early settlements of that space. And then 14 years ago, that place where I'm from was occupied by Russia. So basically, where I was born, no longer accessible for me. So I was displaced and taking my land. So I can't go to my home, being Ukrainian. And that was another thing that, you know, I was thinking, so this magical land that had so many, have so many energetic pyramids under the land, like it's inside, so it's reverse pyramids. it's occupied. So nobody can access them anymore. No spiritual practice can go and use that energy for some reason, right? So I was questioning that. And of course, with my creative work, I have left myself symbols in everything I did. Since I was little, I was doing a lot of art, and I actually left a lot of symbols from my soul in those artworks that now I'm like the Code Da Vinci Code, unpacking them.
Wow.
Because I knew all this, but I didn't understand it. I was living life. But through artwork, I was living all these messages, and now it's all come together. So the place that I was born is occupied. The territory that I'm from, my parents are from, my ancestors from, are at war. And I'm in the land of immigrants and Aboriginals, the holders of the land, that has been also used as part of, as women were used. I see, the same trace of violence has been done in here. On the other side of this planet, creating a safe space for people to unpack their soul's purpose. So when Ukraine happened, I remember I switched on the news. I picked up my son from school. I switched on the news, and they start saying that Kyiv was bombed. So I'm calling my mom. She says, I don't know anything. It's not supposed to happen. And then I'm calling my brother who's in Ukraine, and he says, yes, we're packing. We're leaving now from Kyiv. And then I sit back with all that like unexpected news coming through, and I start laughing because I was like, all my life, I was trying to figure out why I was born there. And now I'm in Australia. And all my life, I was going away from psychology. I never wanted to study psychology because I didn't want to go into medicine, in a way that I understand medicine, when there's doctors and hospitals. So I was trying to avoid that. And now my whole country is in mental issue from having that much trauma coming through. And I'm trying to avoid it, So I did. I set up an art therapy refugee group to give one-on-one to people who come through without any, like previous work with trauma, because I had such a strong call back to, this is what you need to do. This is your medicine. You were going away from the medicine in these terms because this medicine is actually, after COVID and everything, it kind of opened up that that's not the medicine that is medicine for you, and the use of intuition and spirituality is the medicine in your perspective, and that's how you do it, and as soon as this happened, I started taking refugees. I had amazing people coming through from all over the world to give me all these practices. So I've done art therapy diploma, and I've started getting guidance from people all around the world on different techniques that work with trauma, because it's very unique trauma. It's not something that has passed. So the war is still ongoing. People are still going through everyday realization of what's happening. So it's been 2.5 years, and every stage of the way there's a process of, okay, it started, the acceptance that it started. What do I do with your life? How do I go through change? What if I don't expect that this happened? Getting them to the safety and realization they can get back to their body and get out of the freeze mode. A lot of people that came through to Australia, they had no understanding where they are. So they were completely like, if you think, a little mouse hears something, right? And then it hides or runs, but it has no awareness of what it is. So people, they will come in here, they were completely wrecked, they were crying, they didn't know what's happening, what to do, who are they, what is their life. All they cared is to find shelter, find food, and make sure that kids are safe. And it's all run on instincts, basically, initial instincts of your survival skills that you have inbuilt. That's why they ended up in Australia. They didn't even know, why Australia. If you ask them, they would just say just coincidentally. That's how nobody picked Australia to come.
Right.
Everyone acted on the first instinct of what's available, if they could get someone to invite them. So the state they were in, after 2 years, I kind of transitioned a lot of people into adaptation, integration into life in Australia. Most of them, they have difficulties, even if they knew English before they came to Australia. As soon as they come, the brain responds as a fear-based protective mechanism that I don't accept this language. So when they go to study English, they don't know how to process that, because the body responds, this is attack, so I don't want to be involved, this is not my safety, I can't learn new things. So in freeze mode, you can't work, you can't study new things, you can't see things the way they are, because all you feel is your primal brain on survival. And to get them out of that into getting into at least fight or flight mode, and then into I'm not even saying safety, just into balancing mode, where they can see things and they can analyze with the brain, with the human brain, not, or monkey brain, at least. So it's amazing discovery for me how fast I integrated all those knowledges, and psychology and understanding of human body. And then I had a lot of people, I have this amazing board dynamics that works with Invictus Games, that showed me all the body exercises, how to get people into different states by activating their muscles, which I use, on all the sessions, on building up confidence, getting them to ground, and how our body muscles hold memories from our developmental stages. And if you use one muscle, you could activate that stage when you're safe in a period of 1 minute. And then polyvagal nerve to get people to straight away within 5 minutes to get into the safety zone and feel relieved. And one thing, when you learn it and you see all the stats and how it works, the other thing, when you have a group of people doing the exercise on polyvagal nerve, and then people just break out into tears because they've been it's happening. They just breathe, they do this activity, they laugh, and all of a sudden they don't even cry. It's just the tears are just dropping and I can't stop it, right? So basically all the confirmation that comes from working with Ukrainians on healing, the land through these people, through my work, and information, I don't need to go and look what they need. It all comes, because it's I'm in the field, it just comes there, what they need. All of a sudden, I started doing rhythmic exercises on them, because that works. You get to rhythm, they connect to their own rhythm, they create a rhythmic movement, and it balancing, as you're a child, you hold your baby into shaking rhythm. Get into
Yes.
that really safe zone biorhythm, and they feel, oh my God, I feel peace. I don't know what happened. I just feel peaceful. It's all released, you know. So
Yes.
the group that I hold, um, you know, with Ukrainian refugees is amazing because you can see the power of art therapy, like immediately.
Really come into effect.
Yes, and they come and they say, you know, this is the only piece I get to have. Like in the last, you know, year, I just felt like I could breathe out, and I have all this, you know, feedbacks that they say, I can't wait, you know, for the next session because it's the only place I can actually feel alive. I can get rid of all the worries that I can't, you know, and the cases that I have is basically people, their places are bombed, they're rubbles, they have no place to return. They can't find where to live, you know, here. Like they can't integrate, you know, they're not interested in integrate, but they have no place to return. And then
But they would feel probably very displaced as well, right? Like displaced because you can't return home. But this is all foreign and new and different and scary. And it's not like when you choose to migrate, where you
yes,
choose, and this is the country you wanted to live in. It's you found yourself here, and it's a blessing that you're safe, but at the same time, that didn't come from that intention of this as well.
yeah, and that's why it's a trauma work. So trauma work is really
Mm,
different, you know, integrating, acknowledging, understanding where you are, coming to the present moment, working through emotions to release them because nobody's have an opportunity to control.
mhm.
There's a lot of guilt coming through. There's a lot of grief that we work with. We connect through. I do like NLP in a way, you know, through neuro integration because they are. We only speak Ukrainian, so I integrate some of the English words to get when they're in safe zone to get to adapt to language. So, you know, a lot of body movements that involve for them to release through the body all those stuck trauma.
Mm,
It's such a complex way. That's all they need. They don't need the scientific understanding of what we're doing.
that's right.